Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. In a few moments, I'll be sharing my thoughts and feelings on episode 11 of season 15's Naked and Afraid. And over the course of this video, I plan to share my thoughts on the survivalists, the location for the challenge, and how the two survivalists did as a team. So without any further delay, let's jump right in. The two survivalists for this challenge are Rachel and Naeem. If Rachel looks familiar to some of you, then it's because she was a cast member on the TV show Naked and Afraid of Love, which actually happened to be the first reality TV show that I reviewed on this channel. I remember seeing Rachel on the show, and aside from her love for freediving, I really didn't know much else about her from the show. The same holds true about this episode of Naked and Afraid. Rachel's backstory is that she loves to freedive, and that she has the mental fortitude because of it. Now, I commend Rachel for having the drive to do freediving, but this show is Naked and Afraid, and I wondered how her freediving skills would actually help her when she's completing a challenge where she spends little to no time actually in the water. But then there's Naeem, who's a guy that's upbeat, full of energy, and he has a number of useful skills that he brought to the challenge. He's skilled at trap making, fishing, and he also has the mental fortitude that came from completing marathons, triathlons, and surviving cold weather environments. Now, while he has all these attributes, Naeem has never done a challenge like this before. And on a side note, Naeem reminds me of Omar from a few episodes ago, but in a good way. I never felt that Naeem was as stubborn or as outspoken as Omar was. But the location for the challenge was set in Argentina, which is another jungle challenge, where the days were pretty warm and the nights dipped down to the 40s and the 30s. Now, I was pleasantly surprised that it didn't rain as much during this challenge as it did for other rainforest challenges throughout the season. But the bitter cold nights, as well as the lack of intervention from production, made this location extremely difficult for the average survivalist to complete. And if you know anything about how I feel when it comes to these challenges, I feel that all the participating survivalists need to have a fair shot at completing the challenges. I mention this because earlier in the season, production intervened and allowed the episode survivalists to have a pelt to keep warm because of how cold and windy it was. But for episodes 10 and 11, production never bothered throwing these cast members a lifeline, which sucked for the survivalists in my opinion. But when it came to how the survivalists did as a team, I believe that they were the perfect team for half of the challenge. Rachel and Naeem were very kind and helpful towards one another for the most part. But when it came to the cold weather, it started to test their ability to work as a team. From my vantage point, when the cold weather came, Rachel kind of took a backseat while Naeem took the lead in getting stuff done. Naeem was able to catch a catfish, and while Rachel came up with the idea to build a mud wall around the fire, Naeem did most of the mud wall building, and he took the lead on shoring up the shelter. Now, Naeem ended up tapping out before the end of the challenge, but I strongly believe that if Rachel was a little more helpful in carrying her own weight, then Naeem would have roughed it out and stayed until the end of the challenge. So while Rachel was able to make it to the end of the challenge, one could argue that she may not have made it if it wasn't for the efforts of Naeem. But overall, if I had to rate this episode, I would give it a C-. I wasn't a fan of the show's editing, especially after Naeem tapped out, because we really didn't get to see how Rachel was able to survive on her own. But aside from that, I was happy with what I saw for the episode. But this marks the end of the review. If you have any questions or comments related to the review or the episode, feel free to leave them below in the comment section, and I'll be sure to reply to everybody. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.